Welcome everyone. Today we will read a civil judgment, and it's quite an interesting one. If you are new to uh, legal domain, you'll get to learn a lot of things. So, uh, Let me first start with what all different concepts you have in this particular judgment. So, you have something called pre-existing right. You have a concept called compromise decree or consent decree, and you also have couple of basic principles pertaining to rights, title, and ownership. So this entire civil judgment is based on these concepts. So let me first tell you what is the judgment, what does it say. Uh, so what it says is that for mutation purposes or for mutation of any instrument, no stamp duty or registration needed for compromise decree where no new rights are being created on a subjected land. And there is a case study, if you sorry case laws. If you want, you can refer to this case laws. It's Muhammad Yusuf versus Rajkumar. It's a very famous case law actually when it comes to determining the stamp duty or the requirement of registration of an instrument that transfers certain rights or transfers ownership of an immovable property. Okay. Now let's get back to the judgment, and let me first tell you what the cause of action was. So this appellant here, when he okay, before that, let me just tell you a story how they end up getting to the trial court. So this appellant here, he was enjoying a piece of land. He was doing cultivation for quite some time, and there was an adjacent landowner, the Rayat. All of a sudden, by using the land record, because the adjacent landowner's name was still there, maybe he was the previous owner of this particular subjected land. So by using that land record, he was trying to sell it. Now the moment he was trying to sell it, what this appellant did, he went to the civil court and asked for a permanent injunction, and he was successful getting that injunction. He was given the injunction, and based on a compromised decree, you can say, because they both were sort of claiming their rights on that, or maybe the ownership on that piece of land. But eventually they decided to compromise, and this appellant here was given the right to cultivate this piece of land. Now here again, you need to kind of keep in mind, right doesn't mean ownership, and ownership doesn't mean title. These are all three different concepts altogether. If possible, I'll make a separate video for it there. If you have doubts on that, hopefully I'll be able to clarify. So here the issue pertains to the right of cultivating that land, and the land record. So anyway, by virtue of that compromised consent decree, what he did, this appellant here went to the Tehsildar for mutation. And what the Tehsildar did is this: he sent it to the collector of the stamp and asked to pay certain amount. It's around more than 6 lakh. Now he challenged that order. It went to the revenue board. Revenue board dismissed his application. Then it went to high court. High court also dismissed his application, and then the matter came to Supreme Court. Now in the Supreme Court, he got the necessary relief, and he didn't have to, or he doesn't need to pay the stamp duty or registration of this instrument. Now, uh, while deciding, they referred to this particular case, Muhammad Yusuf and others versus Rajkumar, SSC 264. If you want, you can refer to it. And in that judgment, because in that judgment actually has the detailed narrative pertaining to this pre-existing right, and how come an individual who is claiming pre-existing right doesn't need to pay a stamp duty or do a registration for mutation. But here in this judgment also you get a preview. Let me start from here. If I go to, there are two statutes that are in play. Number one, there is a one Indian Stamp Duty Act, and then the other is Indian Registration Act. In the Stamp Duty Act, it talks about the determination of the stamp duty and where stamp duties are needed, where stamp duties are not needed. And in case of Registration Act, it talks about instruments which require registration and instruments which do not require registration. And under Registration Act, there is one exception. Let me see if I can. Here you can see documents of which registration is compulsory. And here there is one exception. This is the exception under section 17, clause 1b. Okay. It says a non-testamentary instrument which purports such and such extinguish any right, title, whether vested or contingent, of the value 100 rupees and such an upward and immovable property. So basically what it says that any instrument that creates a new right, you need to have that instrument registered. But in this particular case, if you remember the story, this appellant here, he was cultivating that land for a long time. And when the appellant went to the trial court, he only sought injunction, and then the subsequent compromise decree was received. So, what Supreme Court held is this, that he was not claiming any new right. The right was already there. He was cultivating that for a long time, and the dispute arose because this uh, adjacent landowner, his name was there in the land record. And here, then Supreme Court makes another observation. It says it is a settled law that revenue record are not document of title. Any entry therein will not ipso facto confer ownership. So this is a very interesting, I would say, lesson also for all of us, because many a time we have seen it. Many frauds are committed against the land record. The person whose name is there, by using that land record, they tend to sell the land, and later it appears that the land belongs to someone else just because the record was not updated. So just because someone's name is there in the land record, it doesn't mean that he or she is the owner of that piece of land. You need to look at many other instruments such as the sale deed, maybe the title document, to ascertain who is the true owner. And also you need to see if anybody has any rights on that piece of land. So these three things you always need to look into before you purchase a piece of immovable property. Okay. So anyway, let's go to the final. So here it says compromise decree requires no registration, and stamp duty was also, since Here it says, since the appellant has only asserted the pre existing right and no new right was created through the consent decree, the document herein for mutation, land is not liable for stamp duty. So, just to recapitulate, first thing, when someone is exercising his pre existing right through a compromise decree, and when the decree needs to be put in the land record, in the land registry for mutation, it doesn't require registration and it doesn't require any stamp duty. But two things you have to keep in mind. Number one, that the person must be having the right for some period of the time, and it must extend some time in the past as well, and it should not create any new rights in that subjected property. In that case, the stamp duty will not be required. But again, you need to kind of again understand, I think, what's the difference between having title, having ownership, and having right. Uh, I'll make a separate video, and there I'll try and clarify it, the difference between all these three, uh, you know, three categories, and why they are important when you are purchasing a piece of immovable property. So let me know if you have any question. I'll always be happy to interact with you, or if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer them. See you with our next judgment.